Hey, Ben Norman here, and in today's video I want to run through persona building for your business and why it is so important. Also, I've designed a free persona template that you can use. It's a simple fill in the blank sheet, so check the link in the description for that, as you'll be able to download it and fill it in as we go along. Firstly, let's confirm exactly what I mean by persona building. What I mean is building a snapshot of the characteristics of the people that come to your business and buy from you. This naturally builds off your niche. So if, for example, your niche is selling digital SLR cameras that are under £1,000, that's where we're going to start. We're going to build it out further, and we're going to drill down types of people and the characteristics of your buyers. For example, you could find that your buyers are normally guys between the ages of 25 and 45 who are into photography and also have an interest in landscapes. Now, there may be a few of them, and the better that you can identify and clarify the individual personas, the better you are going to be able to sell to them. But before we get into it, I'd love to know, do you actually use customer personas? Let me know in the comments below, and let's get into the video. Now, there are a few different ways to drill down into this, and we're going to need to use the data from your analytics, your user data and your conversion data, because we want to drill down into the actual buyers and identify what their specific profiles look like. You can use the data from your actual analytics. You can also use it from your social channels, but you don't want to get totally lost in it. But where possible, you want to limit the amount of assumptions you make. You want to make the assumptions and build out your persona based on the data that you actually have, and not just make the whole lot up based on what you think. Once you have your data at hand, you're going to be able to go through and drill down and fill in the blanks to fill in your persona. So let me cover the 7 main sections that you're going to want to fill out. At this point, if you haven't already downloaded my template, you can just pause me, download the template from the description, print it off, hit play. So number 1 is going to be profile information. We're talking age, location, interest, marital status, job role models, and sources of information. All of this can really help, especially when we're targeting these users with paid social and things like that. When we really want to kind of drill down, it's going to really help us niche down into that individual persona and get the message directly to them. Number 2, what are their goals and desired outcomes? Based on the persona that you are already building out and the data that you've got from them, you're going to want to try and work out what their overarching goal and desire and their desired outcome is. So this is going to go along the lines of, if we take the person that is looking for a camera under £1,000, they're looking probably for the best camera that they can get for their goal, which we said was, interest in landscape photography. So, that's already going to give us an idea on things like lenses, how we're going to need to talk, how we're going to need to kind of position it. But just thinking what their end goal is, as they're not just buying it on individual features, they've got a goal in mind or something that they want this thing to achieve. So the better that we can understand and identify that, the better we're going to help convert that persona. Which moves on to point 3. What are their motivations? Why do they want this? Why are they looking for it? What is their ultimate motivation? Do they currently have a camera that isn't working very well, or they've got a show, or whatever it is? Basically, we're trying to identify what their main motivation for making this purchase is. Number 4, what are their fears? What is going to hold them back from making this purchase? What is the thing that they fear, like buying the wrong camera? Or is there fear that they just really don't know what lens they need to get, and they're worried about getting the wrong lens because that's going to affect the quality of the photography? I hope you can see already we're only on point 4, but when you start mapping this out, when you think about how you're going to advertise to this person, that actually the more of this that you can understand and be able to speak in that terminology, you can diffuse fears before they've even really had a chance for them to become an issue. And by doing this, it just creates this much more powerful message, and you've got a much higher likelihood of being able to convert them off the bat. Which leads us on to point 5. What are their frustrations and their challenges? Now, there might be some overlap with this because their frustrations might be that they just can't work their current lens, or their camera just isn't up to the job. You know, what's the challenge? They want decent landscape photography and they can't currently get it with what they've got. So there are going to be crossovers, but that's okay. It's just about basically filling in the blanks and trying to understand as much about this individual persona as possible. Point number 6, how can you help? And the easiest way to understand this is to look at that persona, and it's we help A get B without C. So it's we help aspiring landscape photographers get award-winning landscape pictures, you know, without the guesswork of which lens they use, or without having to spend over £1,000 on their camera. But if you can get that messaging right, and you can come back to that in everything that you do, that gives you a top level of looking at that persona. And if you can get that across in your messaging to them, you're basically explaining in a nutshell exactly what you do, and it's going to help make sure that your marketing is on point for that persona. Which leads us on to point number 7, and a lot of people kind of ignore this, don't bother with this. I think it really helps. You do what you feel, but also give them a name and a picture, because especially when you're trying to get buy-in from around your business, you know, it's much easier, especially if you've got a bigger product range. You know, you might be dealing with, you know, 3 or 4 personas, you might be dealing with 15 to 20 personas. If they've got names and pictures, it's a lot easier for people to be able to look at it and go, right, yeah, I know I'm selling to a John this time, or I'm selling to a Joe, or I'm selling to a Claire, whatever it is. But people start to get used to selling to that person and them having that persona. So rather than it just being a load of words on a sheet of paper, it becomes an actual person that represents your target market. And so many people skip personas, don't bother with it, don't really think it's necessary. But actually what you find is when you go through the persona process, you will actually see that you end up getting a lot more clarity on your target market, and you're able to make the way that you market and advertise to that market a lot more effective, and you will convert more. So once you have these personas, and most businesses can get away with just a few, like I say, some will need more, you can run through your offering and marketing and see how closely you're actually matching up your advertising and your marketing with those personas. If you see gaps, you need to fill them. If you know, for example, that your persona has a fear of something and you're not meeting and showing clearly how your product or services solve that particular fear, or it doesn't apply to it, you're missing a real trick. The idea here is to make sure that the product or service you're marketing tick off all the points on the persona, as the better the targeting is, the more sales you're going to see. So I hope you can clearly see how mapping and building out your personas is really going to help you dial in your marketing and basically increase your conversion rate and get more sales out of what you're currently doing. Also, don't forget, if you haven't already, download the free persona template. As like I say, you can just fill in the blanks and it really does help. As always, if you found this video useful, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new here, consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon to be notified as soon as I release more content just like this to help you build and scale your business through better systems, strategies and marketing. And I'll see you all in the next video.